sure life originated on Earth. Comfortable conditions on our planet have helped evolution. But where did the very first organic molecule come from? A stunning finding could break the whole idea of life in the universe wide open. Researchers have been able to detect complex sugars, the most important components of living organisms, in meteorites. Does this mean that scientists have solved the mystery of the origin of life on Earth and found the source of all living things? Some scientists believe life arose here spontaneously under certain favorable conditions. Others are convinced that the molecules of life were brought from outer space. A new study of meteorites supports the cosmic version of the origin of life. In 1806, at the height of the Napoleonic Wars, a meteorite fell near the French town of Alais. This was 3 years after meteorites were officially recognized by the French Academy of Sciences. Some of the fragments of meteorite Alais were lost, yet after 28 years, one was collected and stored in the laboratory of famous Swedish chemist Jöns Jacob Berzelius. At first, he didn't even believe it was a cosmic body. Meteorite Alais contained an organic mass soluble in water. When heated, its particles drifted and charred. A clear sign of the presence of organic substances, carbon compounds. All known life forms on our planet are built from such compounds. Berzelius first described carbonaceous chondrites as a new type of stone meteorite. Their name indicates a structural feature where chondrule is present in the stone, small rounded silicate grains, as well as carbon. On Earth, carbonaceous chondrites are sparse, less than 5% of all meteorites. They are ordinary black stones that can easily be mistaken for a piece of asphalt. For scientists, carbonaceous chondrites are the most valuable meteorites, but finding them is very rare. Carbonaceous chondrites are very fragile. With just your fingers, you can grind them into powder. Therefore, they're easily destroyed traveling through Earth's atmosphere. Once they hit the planet, meteorites, as a rule, disappear without a trace, mixing with terrestrial rocks. It's no surprise that only 24 carbonaceous chondrites have been found and preserved in the world. In 1969, carbonaceous chondrites weighing more than 100 kilograms or 220 pounds fell in Australia near the village of Murchison. Its pieces, weighing from 680 grams to 7 kilograms or 1.5 to 15 pounds, scattered across 13,000 square kilometers, about 5,000 square miles.
I feel like
fragments were collected and transferred to scientists for research.
Wait, so you're telling me if you move the rock a little bit, it'll grind off?
Some of its particles are almost 3 billion years older than the sun. Scientists from the German Institute of Ecological Chemistry.
Wouldn't that just mean that it's like a big giant dust bunny in the sky, dude?
Led by
or in
Philippe
space?
Schmidt-Koplan,
That's all it is, right? Like, there's a lot of shit that is compiled into one fucking giant rock.
In a meteorite in 2010.
It's a giant dust bunny.
70 are amino acids. The Murchison meteorite was recognized as the most alive of all that have fallen to Earth. Philippe Schmidt-Koplan is convinced that it contains many more organic molecules, maybe millions. But so far, scientists haven't found them all due to limited means. After 9 years, at the end of 2019, a team of American and Japanese scientists conducted a new study of the Murchison meteorite. For the first time, astrobiologists reliably detected complex sugars, xylose, lysose, and arabinose. But the main find was ribose. This sugar is a key component of ribonucleic acid, RNA. RNA is found in the cells of all living organisms. It serves as an intermediary, copying genetic information from DNA and transmitting it for protein synthesis. Ribose was also found in another carbonaceous chondrite, discovered in Africa in 2001. Research leader Yoshihiro Furukawa of Tohoku University believes extraterrestrial ribose could have led to the formation of RNA molecules and the origin of life on Earth. Found in meteorites older than the Sun, it can be assumed such celestial bodies could have supplied organic molecules to Earth at the birth of the solar system. Remember, organic compounds have been found in meteorites before, including sugar, though each time these discoveries were criticized in the scientific world. Some argued that the samples could be contaminated with organic matter from Earth. Therefore, scientists led by Yoshihiro Furukawa had to not only detect ribose, but also prove its extraterrestrial origin. Key evidence was the isotopic composition of carbon. It's known that earthly life prefers light carbon-12 to heavier carbon-13. Here, analysis showed that sugar from the meteorites was never part of living cells. To confirm their results, scientists are awaiting the return of space missions to asteroids Bennu and Ryugu. They'll deliver soil from the surfaces of these cosmic bodies. Both asteroids are carbonaceous chondrites. The American Interplanetary Station OSIRIS-REx was sent to asteroid Bennu in 2016. In August 2020, it will take soil from its surface and, in 2023, deliver it to Earth. Samples from another asteroid, Ryugu, are already on their way to Earth on Japanese spacecraft Hayabusa 2. It's expected on Earth at the end of 2020. Soil from both asteroids may contain organic molecules. Since they'll be delivered to Earth by spacecraft, the risk of them mixing with organic terrestrial substances has been eliminated. Scientists will get clean samples. But where did complex sugars in space come from? An international team of researchers has answered this. Experts calculated the chemical reaction in the formation of organic molecules that could occur in space on the surface of asteroids. By reproducing this, scientists obtained a sugar composition similar to those in meteorites. However, astrophysicists have long been finding organic molecules in cosmic space. Thanks to spectral analysis, they found organic compounds on Mars, methane ice on Pluto, and methane, ethane, and even acetylene on Saturn's largest.
How are they able to find what's on other planets from like a gazillion miles away? How does that work? Chat. I'm too Pega for that one. How did they do that shit? Like soap, dude, what's up, bro?
Satellite Titan, but the discovery of organic matter in space
does
not indicate the existence of life on these objects.
That's why the world's flat, dude.
Molecules can form from chemical reactions without living organisms. However, the detection of ribose in meteorites could be the key to determining the origin of life on Earth. Perhaps we'll find out what started it all. At the heart of life on Earth are DNA and RNA
if the world is flat, anime will be real.
Nucleic acids, as well as proteins. To build an organism means to produce its proteins only in the right place, at the right time, in the right amount. It is DNA that stores information about the structure of proteins and about when, where, and how many will be synthesized. When constructing proteins using a DNA matrix, the mediator, RNA, plays a huge role. Cells create both RNA and DNA with the help of enzymes, proteins that facilitate the attachment of the components of nucleic acids to one another. In the 1970s, biologists discovered that some RNAs could catalyze this process, that is, reproduce it themselves. So, the hypothesis of the RNA world arose. According to this theory, at the dawn of life, RNA copied itself and did so without protein. Later, proteins joined the process, and DNA turned into the main gear of heredity. The detection of ribose in meteorites was another argument in favor of this idea regarding the development of life on Earth. The Murchison meteorite fell more than half a century ago, but it still holds puzzles. Of the 70 amino acids that scientists have found in it, only 19 are found on Earth. What if the biggest discoveries are yet to come, and we finally understand how life appeared and how much of it is in the universe? Perhaps this one small molecule arriving on a meteorite is enough. And what version of the origin of life on
A strange hexagon appeared on Jupiter? Dude. Yo, let's watch that right after.
These mirrors are the most challenging large optics ever made. So that's why we're here at this special facility. The Giant Magellan Telescope it's our aspiration to build the next great astronomical observatory, the world's largest telescope. So the goal is to make a single coherent optical surface. We'd like to make a 25-meter mirror. So if we knew how to make one mirror, 25 meters in diameter, and then get it to the mountaintop, that's what we would do. But we can't, so we cut it up into small pieces, and 6 of those 7 mirrors are off the axis of symmetry of this 25-meter diameter parent surface. In order to make these off-axis optics, the first thing is you have to cast them into the right shape. So what happens here at the U of A is first they build a furnace, which we will melt the glass. Then they build a mold that will give us this mostly empty honeycomb shape. We melt all the glass, we spin the furnace, we then cool the glass to freeze in this shape.
Dude, that's 5 head.
Carefully cool it for a few months to anneal out the stresses. When the mirror is cooled, it's this sort of 20-ton piece of glass, but inside it, it's got another roughly 20 tons of mold material and the silicon carbide bolts and tiles that held it to the ground. They lift it up, they move it over, and then they turn it so now it's hanging vertically. So now you've got this 40 tons of glass and mold material hanging on this frame. And the first thing they want to do is get all that mold material out of there just to lighten the glass. So they go from 40 tons to 20 tons in just a couple of weeks. Then this same lifting fixture is turned face down, and the mirror will sit on that for the next year.
It's true.
Machine the back surface flat, polish it to make sure it's
structurally all of it
solid. Then there's a long process of processing the blank until we're ready to start polishing the front surface. And it's very difficult to polish because it's a long way from a sphere. So there's a lot of clever optical engineering that went into using fold mirrors and redirection of the beam so we could do an on-axis test for an off-axis mirror. And that final polishing process to get that precise optical shape that differs from a sphere, that takes about 18 months. That'll get us down to nanometer level precision. And then in 2023, we should have the telescope on its concrete pier inside the rotating 22-story building. We'll put those mirrors in the telescope. We'll start to look at the stars for the first time.
Damn. That's hella 5 head. Holy shit. Imagine. Alright, what happened here?
The fact that strange things seem to be constantly happening on Jupiter was noticed as long ago as back in the 17th century. A giant storm, which is today called the Great Red Spot, was discovered by an Italian astronomer, Giovanni Cassini, in 1665.
How the hell did he see that?
Since then, mankind has...
How the fuck did he see that shit?
I think that's a squirrel, sir.
armed itself with powerful telescopes
What?
and space probes, and the finds have become even more incredible.
Holy
A
shit.
recent discovery doesn't yet lend itself to
That's
any
hella 5
scientific explanation and seems as if it's on the verge of fantasy. So, what was actually found on the surface of Jupiter, and how does this relate to Cassini's discovery? Imagine an atmospheric whirlwind the size of Australia with an area of about 7.7 million square kilometers, or about 2.9 million square miles. Now,
He did a
create
Pact of the Devil,
6
like many
variations
Italian
of different
artists did before him.
sizes
I
of this
believe it. I
giant
actually believe it.
vortex and place them each around the first
Holy
one so that
shit.
you get a perfectly even hexagon. This sounds crazy. However,
That's
such
where you
an
live? Damn.
atmospheric phenomenon was discovered by the Juno spacecraft at Jupiter's south pole during a flight at an altitude of 3,500 kilometers, or 2,175 miles above the clouds of Jupiter. Now, the largest whirlwind has dimensions comparable to the size of the United States,
Holy
excluding
shit.
Alaska, and the smallest one is slightly larger than Texas. At first, there were only 6 vortices assembled in the shape of a pentagon. It became a hexagon after one more vortex joined. These cyclones are a completely new natural phenomenon that has never been observed before. Single hurricanes have long been familiar to us here on Earth, but it's extremely unusual for them to organize into
That's like
strictly ordered structures like the shape of a hexagon. By the way,
our world,
similar geometric shapes
crazy.
were discovered at Saturn's North Pole. Only in contrast to the Jupiter hexagon, these are not separate angled vortices, but a continuous integral figure.
Whoa.
The geometrically proper hexagon of Saturn reaches 25,000 kilometers,
that's a nipple.
or 15,534 miles across.
Oh, that's a nipple. I'm a coomer.
This
Holy
is
shit.
enough to entirely cover one of Earth's hemispheres. Each side of the hexagon is a wall rising 100 kilometers or 62 miles into the atmosphere. It's almost impossible to find such a perfect geometric shape on Earth, at least on such a huge scale. However, you can try to recreate it in a laboratory environment. For example, if you fill a large 30-liter container with water and make it rotate faster than the strongest winds on Saturn, reaching a speed of about 500 meters or 1,640 feet per second, then you need to place small rings inside the container, rotating in different directions a little faster than the speed of rotation of the container. This will generate miniature vortices and jets. That's exactly what scientists from Oxford did. They painted the small vortices in the tank green and achieved different shapes: ovals, triangles, squares, and of course, a hexagon. This means that there are special whirlwinds on Saturn that move faster than its atmosphere. Since the hexagon retains its shape for a long time, vortices are also stably present in the atmosphere of Saturn. The speed of the hurricane in the upper atmosphere reaches 160 meters or 525 feet per second, which makes it one of the most powerful hurricanes in the solar system. The eye of this hurricane, that is its epicenter, is 50 times larger than the eye of the largest earthly hurricanes. True, most astronomers believe that comparing the hexagon with terrestrial vortices is not a fair comparison. Saturn's vortex is more like a volcanic eruption. Pressure that has been rising inside the gas giant for decades starts bursting out like lava. There are no rocks or other solid obstacles on Saturn, as is the case with terrestrial volcanoes. So the air currents freely gather in the hexagon. This hexagonal vortex has existed in this state for the last several hundred years. The color is the only thing that's changed in the hexagon on Saturn during all this time. The change of seasons is the reason for this. A year on Saturn lasts about 29 Earth years. When scientists discovered the hexagon, it was winter at the North Pole, so the hexagon was blue in color. Starting in August 2009, spring came to Saturn, and the volume of suspended particles, aerosols, increased in the atmosphere. Here on Earth, we see aerosols in the form of fog and smoke, but in general, aerosols are anything that's formed as a result of the interaction of the planet's atmosphere.
No, I don't think it works like that, bro.
As Saturn began to receive
I don't think it
more
works like
sunlight
that.
over the next
I think
few
that
years,
means we'll live for
from
25
2012
Jupiter
to
years and blow up.
2016, the hexagon was gradually filled with
we'll just die.
aerosols and acquired a golden hue. Now, let's imagine for a moment what would happen if such
1 year,
vortices
29.
were to suddenly appear here on Earth.
Oh,
If
really?
we consider Jupiter's
That means
hexagon,
it's like literally
the location where it occurred would surely become the most lifeless place on
chamber.
planet Earth. Perhaps with the exception of some highly resistant microorganisms that could normally exist in such extreme conditions. The wind speed inside each vortex is approximately 362 kilometers or 225 miles an hour, which is 82 kilometers or 50.9 miles an hour faster than the wind speed of Camille. the most powerful recorded hurricane in human history. In 1969, Camille claimed 259 lives and caused $9.9 billion in damage, adjusted for
dude,
inflation.
that's crazy.
Just imagine what the scale of destruction would have been if Camille had grown to a Jupiterian hexagon.
The world
If
blew
such
up.
a vortex begins to move all over the Earth, then it's unlikely that any life stronger than bacteria would remain on our planet. If a hexagon from Saturn were to appear on Earth, that would add another problem to the catastrophic winds. The hexagon itself looks like our planet's ozone hole above the South Pole, only a giant one and with large walls on its sides. Solar radiation enters the hexagon like a funnel, due to which it can easily penetrate the Earth's surface, having a negative impact on all living things. Earth hurricanes are often quite destructive, but on average they last only between 9 and 12 days, compared to several hundred years as on Jupiter and Saturn. And yet, why hurricanes take the form of a hexagon still remains an unanswered question. If you look closely, you'll find that in fact, the hexagon is a very common figure in nature. Our planet is literally covered with hexagons, only on a much smaller scale.
5 head.
If you like to blow soap bubbles or take a bubble bath, and at the same time were to make a close observation, you might notice all of the geometric shapes in the soap foam, and it's the hexagon that prevails. Foam tends towards a form in which its area and surface tension will be minimal. Therefore, from an economic point of view, the hexagonal shape of the foam bubbles is the most durable and suitable. Taking a quick walk through the animal kingdom, you may find that the proper hexagonal shape is also quite common. Most arthropods have many small hexagons on their faceted eyes. Some of them are engaged in construction
creepy,
using
dude.
exclusively hexagonal shapes. I'm talking about bees, of course, creating their honeycombs. From the point of view of evolution, it's likely that at one time bees built different geometric shapes. However, the smartest honey carriers realized that the hexagonal shape requires the least expenditure of materials and makes it possible to erect whole bee megalopolises much faster. As an explanation, in terms of the usefulness of its form, the hexagonal shape is ideal for the monolithic hexagon of Saturn. But what makes the 7 separate vortices of Jupiter stick together in this configuration is still unknown to science. The only thing that we can imagine that's somehow connected with this phenomenon is an asymmetric gravitational field. This is rather strange, though, because Jupiter is a very massive and rapidly rotating planet, which means we can assume that there should be uniformity of its gravity. However, such an anomaly exists, and it may be the cause of the mysterious hexagon. If in the near future scientists can develop a valid explanation for such an unusual phenomenon, I'll definitely share this with you. In the meantime, other equally interesting discoveries await us in future episodes. If you like this video, please be sure.
What if I told you? What if that hexagon is actually a barrier to prevent our dumbasses from looking at the planet? Think about that. What if this alien's actually there, huh? See? You guys ever thought about that?